Hi, welcome back. This is Tony, a VTF founder of Timeshare Simplified. In this free video series, we're going to go over how to sell or how to rent your timeshare. The secondary market can be a little tricky navigating. There's thousands of different companies. There's tons of different options. Can you give it back to your developer? Will your developer buy it back? Can you sell it on eBay? Can you go to one of these companies that call you 500 times on the phone wanting you to pay them $500 to $1,000? Should you pay a company to take it? Should you give it to friends and family? There's a lot of different variables that come into play when you're trying to get rid of your vacation ownership product. So I just want to try to, maybe guide you and give you some places you can go to try to determine what the best situation is for you. And then, of course, you can always contact our offices. We can try to help you in whatever way possible. But the first thing is you want to try to set your expectations of what you can kind of expect to get out of your ownership. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to first go to like eBay. If you go to eBay and put in the name of your resort in the search bar, eBay is like, I think, the #1 or #2 biggest listings for timeshares in the world. So it kind of gives you an idea of what they're going for or what you could get, and kind of just a feel for the overall market. Just type in the name of your resort in the search bar, and then it'll bring up any properties that are similar to that they're trying to sell. Now you want to look and make sure they're like the same time period, the same years, the same number of points, kind of compare it that way. But it'll give you an overall sense of what these things are going for. Because, sometimes I have people that, they think they can get the same or more than they paid for it, which unfortunately is not the case 90% of the time. I mean, I'm sure it's happened before, but it really depends on where you bought. And if you have one of the major five, like Marriott, Westin, Hilton, Hyatt, Disney, even the World Marks are pretty good on the resale market. But I don't know any of them where you could get about the same amount you paid for it unless you bought it 20 years or more ago. Just because the timeshares are not a product that's bought. It's a product that gets sold to you, really. If you think about it, you didn't buy yours going online to look for one. Most likely you were at a resort. They beat you over the head with a gift and had you there for 2 to 4 hours, sometimes 7, 8 hours in Mexico or whatever, and you were drinking, and then you ended up buying this thing. And that's the way it's usually sold. But some people do go online looking for good deals that already own them and things. So it is possible to sell, and there are brokers. So you just kind of want to, set your expectations right and know what you're going to get. Is in some cases you'll have to pay somebody to take it, or you'll have to, just give it away or take very little money for it. So if you go to eBay, put the name of your resort in the search bar, and then kind of go through the ads and see what your units are selling for and what you think you could get for it. You could also try calling your resort developer and seeing what their options are for you as far as trying to get rid of it. Some of them, like Wyndham, just came up with a program called Ovation, and they kind of take it back from you. I haven't really looked into it that much, but they're supposed to have some kind of exit strategy for you. But a lot of people I've talked to haven't been able to. There's all these hoops you have to jump through and all these different things you have to do. But like a Marriott, they have their own resale program, so they'll either buy it back from you, or in some cases, or they'll try to sell it on your behalf for about 1/3 of what you paid for it or half of what you paid for it. It just depends on when you bought it and kind of your situation. But for most people, what your best option is to go to www.LTRBA. That's the Licensed Timeshare Resale Brokers Association. And if you go to their website, you can put in the area that you live in, and it'll bring up actual real estate brokers that live in your area that can help you with the resale process. And the nice thing is those guys do not charge any money up front. They only take a typical 20 to 30% commission, something in that neighborhood, off of it once they sell it for you. And never pay those companies when you're talking about resale. Never pay those companies that call you on the phone and ask you to pay $300, $500, $2,000. They have a buyer waiting for you, and they have somebody who wants to buy it for more than you paid for it, or $10, $20, $30,000. At 99% of those are scams, and I put that in my book. there are legitimate companies out there, just a vast majority of those are going to jail. They set up shop real quick in Florida. They sell people for a year long, make a couple $1 million, and then you never see them again. So a lot of those guys are going to jail now. So you want to be careful and not pay those companies up front if you're going to sell it. Now, the ones that actually take it off your hands, those companies actually usually do what they say. So, you got to decipher what is best for your situation and kind of what's going on. So once you've decided, what kind of money you're looking at getting for it, and then you can either decide, hey, do I want to sell this thing? Take the time. It usually takes anywhere from 3 months to 2 years to try to get rid of it, depending upon which angle you take and how much time you want to put into it. So if you go to one of those real estate brokers and you just want to charge a couple $1,000, you might be able to get rid of it within 6 to 9 months. It really depends on your property, where you own it. Like if you have them in Mexico, they're really tough to sell. If you have it in the off-season place, it's really tough to sell. You can try giving it to friends and family. I've heard quite a few success stories where they actually sold it to their friends or family, and they actually paid them a decent amount of money. Now, I don't know if you feel right doing that to your friends. If you're not happy with it, you probably don't want to stick your friends with it and have them pay, almost half of what you paid for it if it's not working for you. So, that's up to you. You can always do that, or you can just gift it to the kids if they're willing to use it and learn how to use it. Like I said in the previous videos, I'm a big fan of the timeshares. If you know how to work them, once you learn how to do it, took me a while, but once you do learn how to use it, they're actually really cool to use. But if things in your life have changed and you just want to get rid of it, you might want to go to that broker. You can also go to a website. It's the www.tug2.net, tug2.net, or the Timeshare Users Group. And they have quite a few resources on there of places where people have sold successfully. And they also have their own timeshare marketplace of people that they have probably 50, 70,000 members now, and they have their own marketplace where you can list your units for sale on there, and they have a very high success rate. They do, millions of dollars in sales because it's a strictly timeshare community, so everybody knows about the resorts and the benefits and all that stuff. So it's not a tough sale, and you only have to pay $15 to, I think it's $15 or $25 to list on their site. Now, I have had my diamond program on there for like 2 years trying to give it away for free, and I haven't gotten one request off of there. So it really depends on where you own and kind of what you want to do. Now, one option I put in my book that's a good idea if you think it's going to take a while to sell. And, personally, I do over $1 million a year in timeshare rentals. So these things rent out very well. So oftentimes you're better just keeping it and then just renting it out year after year. And if you did that 5 to 10 times, you'd get your initial money back, plus you'd have your maintenance fee paid every year. Plus, you'd have it if you ever wanted to use it again. So that's an option I'm a big fan of, but I take the time to do it. But with all these websites out there nowadays, it becomes, actually fairly easy to do, and you don't have to be a genius to do it. So you can go to places. So the first thing you want to do if you're going to rent your timeshare is most likely you own with a developer, and they usually have more than one property. So they have like 5, 6, 10, 60, 80, however many if you're in a point system, or sometimes you might just own with one specific place. So the first thing you want to do is find out the best resort you have access to. So say you own with like a Wyndham, okay? You might want to do like Alexandria, Virginia. Or actually just pick the place that you like the most. Pick your favorite resort. That's usually the best option, because these companies put the resorts in all the best places around the world. They don't put them where people don't want to go. And sometimes a little bit weirder resorts actually rent a little bit better. I remember one of my clients, he owned with WorldMark, and he booked Wolf Creek, Utah. And I was like, where the heck is that? I don't even know where that's at. And he sent us like 3 of these reservations, and I was like, oh, there's no way these are going to rent. And lo and behold, 7 days later, we rented out all 3 of them. So these resorts all know what they're doing. They all market in these good areas, And so they put them in the good spots. So what you want to do is just pick one resort you have access to, especially if you're in a points program. All right. Then just Google that area. Hey, what are the best times of the year to visit? Wherever, Las Vegas or Lake Tahoe. And with a quick Google search, it'll show you the best times of the year to go there. And then what you want to do is just pick the best holiday that's the farthest out from when you're going to make the reservation. So say you're watching my video in March, right? And you want to rent out your timeshare and you own in Lake Tahoe, let's say. So call right now if it's March and book the next winter in Lake Tahoe. Book like ski season or try to always book a major holiday. That's when most people travel. So if you're in March, then call and book February Valentine's Day in Lake Tahoe, all right? Or book ski week or book spring break. If it's the summertime and you own in Orlando, then book next 4th of July at your property. Because if you have a holiday week at one of these prime properties, it's almost a no-brainer that you're going to get it rented unless you're just trying to charge way too much. So first thing is pick the resort you want to rent. And then second, Google the area, pick the best holiday time you can get. If you have a point system, I would do shorter stays like 3 to 5 nights, and instead of getting a whole week, and then do 2 reservations instead of 1. All right. Now, your options as far as renting it, and then of course book it in your name, and then you want to try to list it somewhere. So there's all kinds of different sites again that you can go to. You can Google timeshare rental sites. Don't pay any company more than $25 or $50 to list on their site. Like redweek.com is a really popular one. They have over 1.5 million members, and they're all timeshare owners, so they're all familiar with the properties. You can list on their site, very simple, for like $25 a year. That timeshare users group, that's a great resource as well. You can list your unit on there for their $15 annual fee. You can list it on eBay as well. My favorite one, the one I use the most, is Airbnb. They're becoming so popular now, and they get, I don't know, however many, 20 million, 30 million hits a month. So there's a ton of people being able to see your property. And if you go to like Airbnb, you just sign up for an account. It's free, doesn't cost you any money, and then you register, and then you just book, and then you just list your space on there, all right? And then you can get the information from your developer's website. So, say you own at the Wyndham and wherever, or the Hilton in Hawaii. Well, just go to the Hilton Vacation Club website, pull up your resort, and then you can just I guess you probably can't copy and paste most of it, but you can copy it and then just change it a little bit to fit what you're trying to do. You don't need to do super detailed ads. The most important part is the pictures. And the pictures, you can just Google your resort and then just go to images, and it'll have pictures that people have stayed there and that they post online, and you can use those pictures as well, I believe. I don't know about trademark issues or whatever. I haven't had a problem yet in 6 years. So, but I'm not, if you're a lawyer or whatever, how you want to handle that. But usually Google images are images people have taken that they gather from all over. So get about 10 to 15 good pictures of your property, or ones, if it's your favorite resort, if you have ones of yourself, before you messed up the room, obviously, but pick the resort pictures, or even sometimes you can take them off the websites, but you just walk step by step through. Usually only takes you about 10 to 15 minutes to fill out an ad. And then like Airbnb, you only pay them a 3% commission, and it's pretty much just to cover the processing part of the processing charge of the credit card. So that's one. I've used HomeAway a lot and VRBO. Now they're a little more on the expensive side. They're worth it if you're going to rent out like 2 or 3 weeks or 3 or 4 weeks worth of points at one time with your developer. Then it's worth paying the $500 fee up front. Or they do have a commission model now where you pay them like 8% of the total price. So those are my 2 best, HomeAway and Airbnb, that I rent on. I have rented on Red Week, and I've used Craigslist before as well. So those are some of your options you want. My company, Timeshare Simplified, we also rent out your program if you own a point system. We rent out like Marriott, Wyndham, we're going to start doing Westin and Hilton and Hyatt here soon. So if you own one of the major brands, we can rent it out for you if you so desire, or you can get my book, Timeshare Tips and Tricks. I go a little more in depth as far as like different websites you can use. And then when people respond to your ad, all you have to do is make sure the dates are available, or make sure and only list the dates you had booked, like New Year's or whatever. And if you know it's available, then you just call your resort and put their name on it, just like if your mom or dad or your kids were using it. And then they'll send you a new confirmation letter, and then you just forward that on to your guest. Then when your guests check in, they put their credit card down. So if there's any damages done in the room, it's charged to them, not to you. I mean, ultimately, I guess kind of you could be responsible, but I mean, I've been doing this for 8 years doing the rental part, and I've never once had a problem. So it's, you can also go to a place called rentalguardian.com, and they have an insurance policy you can get for like $29 or $39 that protects you for up to $5,000. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's nothing really complicated. Just pick one of your properties, especially if you own a points. Pick your favorite one or the best one. Book the best holiday out. That's the farthest out from when you're doing it. And then go to one of these websites like Red Week, Tug, Airbnb, or HomeAway, and then set up an account with them and do a commission model so you're not having to pay anything up front, and then list it on there. And then when the requests come in, just make sure and answer them in a timely manner, usually within a few hours. And then once they've agreed to pay, those companies collect the money and they do all that. And then you just put their name on the reservation, and that's it. And then for taxes, I'm not an accountant, so I can't give tax advice, but typically my guys told me you're allowed to rent out 14 days of a second home tax-free. But I do a little different because I have a business, so it's up to you. You might want to talk to your guy on how you want to claim that. But you shouldn't, if you do less than 14 nights, I don't believe you should have to pay any taxes on that. But then again, you're supposed to pay taxes on everything. So, and plus I only have 2 credits in junior college, so I'm no expert. But I do know how to do the rentals. We do, quite a bit every month. But that'd be your best strategy, is if you're going to try to sell it, is to rent it in the meantime. Find out how much you're going to get for the sale and look into that. And then in my next video, I'm going to cover another option, because if you've been down the sales road and you found out that you've been trying to sell it for 6 months or 2 years, or you just can't give it away, your kids won't take it, any of that thing, I came up with another option. I made an affiliation with a company, and they guarantee to get you out of your timeshare. It depends, on 95% of them they can get you out of, and they can get you out of it even if you have a loan. So look for my next video, and I'll go over that in more in depth. And you can also go to our website, timesharesimplified.com or timeshareloophole.com, and get more information on any of our services. Thanks for being with me, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Have a great day.